Hi, thank you for coming. I'm Lisa Johnson, and this is Living and Breathing in Trump's America. Because it's hard. And remembering that we're living and we're breathing gives us a little more resource to meet the Trump's America that is on the news 24/7. Right? The 24/7. Our nervous systems are not designed for this. So we have a practice, and in the practice is attuning to nature, attuning to ourselves, our center. But the practice is also coming together. So thank you so much for being here, because it is different when we're together. The we space. What the current administration is taking advantage of is an epidemic of isolation that has been growing, that keeps the space between us empty when it's never empty. And so growing the space between us, our connection, is the medicine. It is the antidote to the isolation that is part of the agenda. So it's a big deal. Every time this practice will each time include a somatic centering, so that during the day when we're feeling off center, we can do a ritual, physical ritual, that reminds us that center exists, because it's not coming from out there. So I think I should... Everyone's going to be different, right? So, and every day there are more atrocities that are assaulting our senses, and they leave a very specific signature in our bodies. These stories come in and have a signature in our bodies, and the physical discomfort of it exacerbates the emotional discomfort of it, or they're just all so related. And our thoughts about it. I want to read this from the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching was written, I think, like 2,500 years ago, and this is Stephen Mitchell's translation. Number 53. The great way is easy, yet people prefer the side paths. Be aware when things are out of balance. Stay centered within the Tao. When rich speculators prosper, while farmers lose their land. When government officials spend money on weapons instead of cures. When the upper class is extravagant and irresponsible, while the poor have nowhere to turn. All this is robbery and chaos. It is not in keeping with the Tao. So this stuff was happening 2,500 years ago, which doesn't change the intensity at which it's happening today, but it can put our intensity in a context, and that context is, this is temporary, this is part of a larger cycle of nature that's obviously happened before. There's so many good, interesting ways to go with this. It's coming up right now, and we get to deal with it, and it's not easy. And for me, the most effective means at my disposal at this moment is resourcing my whole nervous system so that I'm not living in my head. And to do that, I have to kind of identify as more than my head. Like I can identify as my whole spine and my hips. Like that, the corridor between the head and the hips. This is how we move in the world. And so, like any other thing, if you're top heavy, you're not moving most effectively. But if the integrity is through the entire center, things move more stably, more effectively. It's a worthwhile thing. So Scylla Ellsworthy, who's a woman who did a business plan for peace about 10 years ago, it was beautiful. It was like putting numbers against how do you women's organizations that are stopping violence in cities around the world. How do you get them the resources and then scale those programs? And it's all based in community. It's all based on being here together. Anyhow, she did that. And one of the things she said that I love is anger is like gasoline. You can't keep it in because it'll poison you. If you spit it out, it makes everything more flammable. But if you put it in an engine, it can drive you forward. It can have real motion. So I think that we're in a moment that the engine is getting fueled up because the action of responding to this administration, there are awesome people filing lawsuits and people who their core is knowing the law and they are taking the actions. I don't have that. I don't know what my next action is. So I want to resource and strengthen myself so that when I'm called, I'm ready and the whole of me is there, not just the frazzled head of me. And so here's today's body practice, and it's called pandiculation. It's going to take like 30 seconds. And it's really helpful because it is an invitation to center. And when we are feeling off center, we might not know how to come back to center, but we can give ourselves an invitation to center that gets us a little closer just through our intention. So the exercise is this. We pretend there is a small beach ball or a decent sized beach ball at our lower waist and we collapse over it. And if you can, let your neck go too. Like a lot of us don't ever like curl over, but don't let our neck go. Sometimes it's painful. Don't do it if it's painful. But then come back up and imagine that same beach ball now at your back, and you are going to gently arch over it. Again, not to hurt yourself, just to slowly feel where your limit is, and then come back to center. And the center we come back to is a little different than the center we started with. And it's infused with our intention to come back to center. So that is a very handy thing when we're getting like 10,000 messages a day that are atrocious and need attention, but we want to give them attention from the center. So with that, I invite you to bring the focus of attention to the feeling state of the body. And just breathe. Now you can't think and feel at the same time. You can move between them very quickly. But we're just noticing our bodies. Feel your feet on the floor. If you struggle with this, you can tap yourself and just feel your own tapping. But we're coming in to just notice the impact of an inhalation on your posture, on any part of you that can feel it, and the impact of an exhalation. And you'll notice that you're in a relationship with gravity. So the breath is changing things, and gravity is this constant thing drawing down what the breath is changing. And then if you shift at all, you're changing your relationship. I believe that gravity is the earth hugging us. She keeps us close, allowing us enormous freedom, including the freedom to ignore her or think she's a jerk. But she never lets us go. And when we remember that gravity is a willing embrace from the earth at any moment, we can drop into it at any time. And just like when you hug someone, when that embrace goes into a hug, there's a letting go. There's a drop of the body. You fall into that hug for a moment. And so we can fall into gravity. And see if we can feel, much like when we hug someone, there's an exchange there. It's welcome. It's relieving. This is available to us relentlessly. And we don't have to do it all day. A few breaths in an embrace with the earth can fuel hours, if not days, if not rewire your brain in the most beautiful way. And as I do a lot of body practices, and as my posture has naturally improved, and by that I mean I am allowing gravity to run through me the way my body was designed, through the relationships between the bones and gravity mostly, and the muscles, of course, but the ability to receive the energy back up from the earth becomes more available as my gravity is moving through me more coherently. The blessings of the earth can just make me feel warm more effectively and loved. Because everything we have comes from this earth. And every breath we take is a gift of not the earth, yes, but it's the combination of every living thing on earth that gives us breath. And while the administration is talking about our isolation and warring, the earth is a much deeper signal that is always saying, I'm here and I support you. And that deserves a part of our day. Because with that, we are meeting the grief and anger that we cannot help but feel. But we're meeting it in context, and we're meeting it with resource that is bigger than us, that loves us, and that also brings us together, literally, and by our choice. And so with that, I'm going to turn off the recording, and let's have a little conversation.